It is 36 minutes past 6 a.m. on the 12th day of March 2026. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Joan N. Murungi, and it is a bright morning here in the Kampala metropolitan area, specifically Nile Avenue Coast. That is where we come to you live every single day, Monday to Friday, and that is where the UBC headquarters and studios are located. But before we look at today's news, the developments, highlights, and of course updates, we did decide to take you back a memory lane as we celebrated the musical moments earlier on from the 80s, from the 90s. I hope the people who are around by that time enjoyed the selection. Personally, I liked the last two songs. Even when you could ask me what were the names, you would find me for that. But we hope you are having a very bright and fantastic morning, and we hope your night was very good. So take time off and reminisce about the simpler times. And so on top of that, remember it is a Friday Eve, which most of us look up to because we're going to wind down and relax from all the week struggles that we had since Monday. And I think, Robert, one day we should ask our viewers, since it is always Throwback Thursday, to send us their most embarrassing photos of their childhood. I imagine how you must have looked when you're young, and the dress code that you used to have by then, because 80s and 90s for the adults, it was characterized by big hairs and those baggy clothes. Others, good morning.
The table you're shaking has expensive drinks. I don't know how your wallet is standing, but hope you're fine. How did you decide to wear something similar to me in terms of color?
I beg your pardon, how do I do it?
Well, I don't know. How come you have blue, What I put on colors, really, I think so much about them, and it's shocking when we combine colors together. But otherwise, thank you so much for being with us all the way from Monday till today, Thursday, and of course we'll be ushering in the weekend tomorrow, the special. That is, of course, tomorrow is something very, very special that we always have for you. But so much happened, and some stories caught my attention. Some have a bit of humor. Now, I'll begin with Rubanda Law Enforcement Officer Fortune Chalikanda, who was jailed for 6 months for failing to pay 14 million shillings owed to her ex-boyfriend after breaching a marriage promise. Quoted earlier in 2023, ordered her to refund 9.4 million shillings he spent on her education. Now, this was a very interesting case in 2023. Why? Because people were shocked when the judge ruled that actually you had promised to get married to this man. So he catered for you, he catered for your education because you had promised him that you would get married to him. Now, after finishing your education, the girl says the man is too old. And she changes her mind. So the man goes to court, and the court ruled that when we estimate about 9.4 million has been spent on your education. Now, since then, she had failed to pay the money. So she was sentenced for 9-month imprisonment over failure to pay that money.
It was quite an interesting story, but given the fact, Robert, I didn't, if I'm the one, I did not forcefully compel this man to sponsor my education. You did it out of love.
Well, lawyers can tell you that a
Where did I sign that?
Marriage, I think.
Was it by audio?
This is what comes out. If I have evidence that I've been paying your tuition at university,
okay,
I have the evidence that I've been paying. You're not my sister. You're not my relative. And I have evidence that we've been having communication of relationships, even indicating that you will marry. We will become a married couple after education. So that contract, it is a contract. And in law, I was speaking to lawyers about this case, and I was shocked. Therefore, young girl, if you're there, I don't promise to get married to Robert.
No, do not intimidate us, Robert, because, you know, you see, even people who have met when they're adults, they do divorce at times. So when it comes to getting married, it's about personal choices. The woman must have got emotionally detached.
Well, speak to some lawyers. Yesterday I had to call about 3 of them to better understand this. And also relatedly, another interesting case. Now, this one, I just don't understand what is happening with this young man. He's called, let me just get him right here.
Yeah, as you get him, I do have a very big concern. Whoever is in charge of the Natete Busega stretch, I think it is Ministry of Works and Transport, but in collaboration with KCCA. Previously, I saw KCCA officials inspecting that stretch, but the road is in a dire state. I managed to pass by yesterday. It's really impassable. It rained yesterday in the mid-afternoon, but even today morning, I decided to use the same road to see how it is so far. It is still impassable. Trucks, I've seen a fuso that has got stranded. A mechanical fault. There is this other. There is a metal that always comes out of vehicles that are loaded with luggage or with cargo, and when the road is impassable, highly impassable, they tend to break down. Yesterday, when I was passing by, there was one. Today, there are 2 vehicles. I think this road was abandoned, if I may say, because it has been long since it has been maintained. And also the alternative road, which is the old Masaka road, was abandoned. Work started, but then they halted. So people are just suffering. There are road traffic congestion, mechanical problems for vehicles. It's just in a mess. It's okay.
Well, if you are nocturnal and find that challenge, then what about those that come later on in the day when there's heavy jam?
I agree.
Now, TikToker Ibrahim Musana, also known as Pressure 24/7, was charged with hate speech and unlawful access to personal data belonging to the Chief of Defense Forces, General Mohoz Kenerugaba, including his photograph on social media. He is also accused of publishing statements claiming that the CDF was unfit to hold public office. Remember, Musana was last year acquitted of similar charges in a separate case in which he was accused of making offensive online posts about President Yoweri Museveni and the Kabaka of Uganda. But what shocks me is, I think, is this boy normal? Because last year when he was arrested, TikTokers, you know, they have a group and all that. There was so much on his side. This time I watched him one morning where he woke up and started this nonsense.
Again.
So either he's demon possessed
or mentally. He needs a check-up.
But there's a problem with this young man.
That is social media for you.
Because I don't think likes can
put it to that extent.
Go to that extent.
I personally detest hate speech. I was
looking at him in court. I was watching a clip of him. The way he was moving his eyes and head, he seemed either if he's not demon possessed. This young man has a serious problem. Oh,
quickly, let's move on to what happened at the Public Accounts Committee there. Now, the Deputy IGP, that is Ochaya, defended the police for having security at Honorable Robert Chagulanyi's home. But then in retaliation, now this was presented by Honorable Asman Basalira, but in retaliation, the legislators wondered. So if police is there to provide security to the home of Honorable Robert Chagulanyi Sentamo while he is away, then where was police when intruders got to the home and disturbed the wife to Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, that is Barbara Itongo? And police there, scenes were interesting in Park, but from there, Honorable Namuga Goreti, the outgoing Maogola South MP, and who's also the vice chairperson for Park, was prompted to ask why the vandalization was not even taken into action by police. There were no proper statements that were given to the families, even when family members are not allowed to access the premises. But away from that, yes, a parliament.
Before you leave that, have something wondering. We heard about 8 presidential candidates.
8, 9, 8, yeah.
8. Now, of all homes, we see police deployment at one candidate's home.
Okay.
And second, of course, when he's not there as the head of the house, one would find it is proper so that there is security there to guard the rest of the family members.
And the property.
And the property, because police is mandated to protect lives and property.
Protect and serve, like their
motto.
No,
protect, that's just their motto, but their core mandate is protect life and property, detect and prevent crime. So maybe if they are detecting that maybe crime could happen anytime, they are supposed to be there. But this thing has a lot of unanswered questions. However, we are not experts in security. Security knows better.
Okay, before we go to the local stories, of course, Parliament has yesterday learned that the current rate of Uganda shillings 200 billion that is set aside to clear Uganda's domestic arrears. It will take government over 48 years to clear the outstanding arrears that are currently valued at over 8.4 trillion. Although the Ministry of Finance revealed that after verification, some of the reported arrears had no evidence to support the repayment, but 48 years.
One thing that we are sure of, borrowing is not bad.
Yeah.
But we must borrow for the right reasons and spend well what we borrow.
But there's so many sums of money that are taken back to the Treasury because that actually loans that did not do the specific intention they were intended for.
Then I think if this
but
happens,
we are
should
paying
investigate
interest.
Why it happens, and those that secured those loans on behalf of government should dance to that tune.
And why should we not put these loans to use?
If you borrow money to use it for something and it has interest, and you don't spend that money on that, then you're paying a loan which was not used.
And also the interest,
and
because
also
it does
interest.
not.
Of course, paying a loan involves paying the interest.
Yeah.
Now, that is the challenge that we are looking at. But we need to handle these things better. Loan management is something we should reduce appetite. You borrow for you take a loan for a road, and the road is supposed to be completed in 5 years. It goes to 15 years.
Oh, it does not even, the project does not even.
So I think the Secretary of the Treasury,
that is Ramadan Gobi,
a very fluent man when it comes to finances. We used to host him on Behind the Headlines. He was a regular panelist until he was given that big position that he said bye-bye to us. But I used to follow so much his information. And I believe he's the right person in the right place.
Okay, we shall always bring you the developments, especially from Parliament. Let's look at what Robert has from the local scene today.
Okay, I kick it off with President Oyam Museveni, who met National Resistance Movement leaders from Greater Masaka at State Lodge, Masaka, and urged them to focus on real challenges affecting citizens. He called on the leaders to expose corruption at local levels, promote government programs, and prioritize issues that directly affect people's livelihoods instead of engaging in political arguments. The meeting was organized by Masaka City Woman Member of Parliament-elect Justin Namere. The president warned that silence in the face of corruption weakens service delivery and erodes public trust. He also cautioned leaders against sectarianism and urged them to promote national unity. Museveni encouraged NRM leaders to confidently explain government achievements and mobilize communities to embrace wealth creation programs such as the Parish Development Model and Operation Wealth Creation. Honorable Namere thanked the president for meeting the leaders and pledged to continue mobilizing communities in Masaka to support government programs aimed at fighting poverty and promoting development. The Prime Minister of Uganda, Robert Nabbanja, resumed the inspection of Kampala roads which are under construction. During her inspection, Nabbanja mounted pressure on KCCA engineers and contractors over the delays to complete the construction of roads under their contracts. Yesterday morning, the Prime Minister of Uganda endured the heavy downpour and fulfilled her constitutional obligation of ensuring that Ugandans get value for money. The Prime Minister started with Nakawa Bugorobi Luzira Road, roads within the industrial area, Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, Chebando Road, and Masiro Lugala Road. At Meat Packers, the Prime Minister discovered that businessman Basajja Balaba allegedly blocked the contractors from constructing a drainage channel, demanding to be paid 3 billion shillings. Huh?
Interesting.
At Chebando Road, the Chinese contractor China Railways 18 left the manual covers in the middle of the road, putting lives of motorists in danger. Later, the Prime Minister convened a meeting at her office where she expressed disappointment with KCCA engineers and the contractors. Nabaja said she will not sit back but use all the powers entrusted to her in the Constitution. The KCCA Executive Director thanked the Prime Minister for her intervention. Pierced. Okay, the Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Ngobi, and a team from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development appeared before the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee to respond to queries on the audited accounts of the year ending June 2025. By June 30th, 2025, Uganda's public debt hit 115.403 trillion, registering an increase of approximately 66.76% in 5 years. Accordingly, the domestic debt significantly increased from 39.16 trillion in June 2024 to 59.02 trillion in June 2025. The Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadhan Ngobi, and officials from the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development appeared before the Parliamentary Public Accounts Committee to respond to the queries in the audited accounts of the year ending 30th June 2025. The Auditor General raised a red flag on domestic borrowing, which tightens interest and refinancing risks. The report further cites that such funding carries shorter maturities, hence increasing the cost of debt servicing and crowding out the private sector. And with that story, we come to the end of our local stories this morning. Let's see what my colleague has for us regarding the international scene.
Definitely, and beginning off in the United States of America, the U.S. launched a new investigation into some of its biggest trading partners after the Supreme Court struck down a key part of President Donald Trump's tariffs policies last month. Yesterday, U.S. Trade Representative Jamison Greer said the Section 301 Unfair Trade Practices probe could lead to new levies against countries including China, the European Union, India, Japan, South Korea, and Mexico by this summer. The probe could allow the U.S. to import taxes on goods from any of the countries found to have engaged in unfair trade practices. Greer said he hoped to conclude the investigations before new temporary tariffs imposed by Trump in late February expire in July. Other countries being investigated include Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, Singapore, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Switzerland, and Norway. Canada, which is the U.S.'s second largest trading partner, was not mentioned as a target of the probe. Now, the move comes weeks after the Supreme Court ruled that the tariffs imposed by Trump on a slew of countries around the world in April last year were unlawful. Soon after the decision, the president announced a new 10% global tariff, calling the ruling terrible and lambasting the justices who rejected his trade policy as fools. The following day, he said the levy would be 15%, but when it came into effect, the rate actually being charged was 10%. Forging forward, Qatar, Jordan, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates have condemned Israel's continued closure of the Al-Aqsa Mosque during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan for the 12th consecutive day. In a statement published yesterday, the foreign ministers of the 8 Arab and Islamic countries said Israeli restrictions on Palestinian access to the old city of Jerusalem and its places of worship constituted a flagrant violation to international law, including international humanitarian law, the historical and legal status quo, and the principle of unrestricted access to places of worship. The statement added that the entire area of Al-Aqsa Mosque was exclusively for Muslims under the Jerusalem Endowments and Al-Aqsa Mosque Affairs Department, affiliated with the Jordanian Ministry of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs, is the legal entity with exclusive jurisdiction. Now, the ministers called on Israel as the occupying power to immediately cease the closure of the gates of Al-Aqsa Mosque, remove access restrictions to the old city of Jerusalem, and refrain from obstructing Muslim worshippers' access to the mosque. The statement said, calling on the international community to compel Israel to stop its ongoing violations. And finally, from the global coverage, it is a dejected report, as at least 30 people have been killed in floods and landslides triggered by heavy rainfall in the Gamo zone of southern Ethiopia, as the local officials said. Authorities reported that most people had died in highland areas, where saturated slopes gave way after days of intense rain. Officials have urged residents in vulnerable areas to take precautions. Torrential rains have unleashed widespread flooding across East Africa in recent days. Dozens have also died in neighboring Kenya. Forecasters say storms are becoming more intense in the region, partly due to climate change. The Southern Ethiopia Regional State Governor offered his condolences to the affected families. And he said, "On behalf of myself and the regional government, I express my deep sorrow over the loss of 30 lives due to landslides and floods in the highlands of Gamo zone caused by heavy rains." Tilahum Kabede said in a statement on Facebook late on Tuesday. Officials said the disaster followed a sustained rainfall in surrounding districts, and the town of Aba Minch and neighboring areas have experienced continuous downpours for 2 days, causing widespread damage to homes, infrastructure, and farmlands. Authorities, however, have warned that further flooding and landslides remain possible. And that brings us to the end of our local and international coverage. Let's swiftly look at what is happening with the print media in the press review. Robert, what does the local press review hold for us this 12th day of March 2026?
Beginning with the new vision of 34,000 civil servants to retire. That is in the new vision this morning. Now, government embarks on reforms as experts raise pension bill fears. Museveni meets Masaka NRM leaders. A picture there. And woman jailed for refusing marriage after man paid tuition fees. That's in the new vision. Majority of Americans oppose war. Still, the vision brings that. And PLU endorses Among and Tayebwa. That is for the speakership and deputy speaker. Still, well,
I wish we had time. PLU endorses. I'm not going to
that
be...
That is the Patriotic League
of Uganda. I don't want to be tempted to ask how many members of parliament they do have there in the 12th parliament.
Why Chagulanyi campaign guards were arrested. Well, the vision also has something for you there. And now let me hold the Daily Monitor. Look at the Daily Monitor. Police under fire over Bobby guards. And scientists operate on brain of awake patient. Still, how Owino market demolition unfolded and why pension funds are betting on telecom stocks. Still, looking at the new vision, state seeks to conceal identities of 6 key witnesses. That is in the Besigye trial. Then the voice behind Chira Motors electric revolution. Well, these and more, if you get yourself copies of the new vision and the Daily Monitor this morning, you'll have more of this.
And let's go to our neighbors, what the Daily Nation there in Kenya is holding for us at the front page. And it says, looming fuel crisis with the Iran war. Kenyans could soon feel the heat of the ongoing U.S.-Israel war on Iran following reports petrol stocks might run out out at the end of the month at a time a major supplier in the Gulf has shut down its refinery after taking a hit from Iranian fire. And at the top there, there is the Kilaniti Bridge redesign to cost shillings 7 billion. That's in Kenyan shillings. And Linda Mwananchi powers cold water on report by broad-based team. And still the pictorial there, the NMG new owners pledge on media freedom. As within the theater, how AI is rewriting drama scripts. You'll find everything within the Daily Nation from CARE. And firstly, let's go to the Citizen from Dar es Salaam, that is Tanzania. A bit of some sub-headlines there, but the most visible one is Rostam's pledge after acquisition on stake in NMG. And at the top, Jennifer Lema at the forefront of drive to digitize Tanzania's ports. It's still with Citizen. Samia meets with UN envoy. What was the meeting about? You need to get a copy of the Citizen. While government now focuses on domestic revenue in shillings 62.3 trillion proposed budget. And also Tanzania says the Citizen there, 5 killed as heavy rains wreak havoc. And beneath the Citizen, why court acquitted former UDAT director and co-accused. You can have a deeper insight of all the glimpses we've given you from the print media this morning when you grab yourself a copy of any of the newspapers this morning. Now, before we go for a quick break, we always give you a poll question on our account, that is our X account, or you can call it Twitter. And the question there is, what is your opinion about making it compulsory for both motorcycle riders and their passengers to wear helmets? What is your opinion about making it compulsory for both motorcycle riders and their passengers to wear helmets? You can engage with us, profile your thoughts on our X account, that is at UBC TV Uganda, or you can engage with us on our WhatsApp number. So let's now take a quick coffee sip with a song as we listen to Monji and City Rock as they are telling us Lino Kona. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.
It is 36 minutes past 6 a.m. on the 12th day of March 2026. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Joan N. Murungi, and it is a bright morning here in the Kampala metropolitan area, specifically Nile Avenue Coast. That is where we come to you live every single day, Monday to Friday, and that is where the UBC headquarters and studios are located. But before we look at today's news, the developments, highlights, and of course updates, we did decide to take you back a memory lane as we celebrated the musical moments earlier on from the 80s, from the 90s. I hope the people who are around by that time enjoyed the selection. Personally, I liked the last two songs. Even when you could ask me what were the names, you would find me for that. But we hope you are having a very bright and fantastic morning, and we hope your night was very good. So take time off and reminisce about the simpler times. And so on top of that, remember it is a Friday Eve, which most of us look up to because we're going to wind down and relax from all the week struggles that we had since Monday. And I think, Robert, one day we should ask our viewers, since it is always Throwback Thursday, to send us their most embarrassing photos of their childhood. I imagine how you must have looked when you're young, and the dress code that you used to have by then, because 80s and 90s for the adults was characterized by big hairs and, you know, those baggy clothes. Alice, good morning.
The table you're shaking has expensive drinks. I don't know how your wallet is standing, but hope you're fine. How did you decide to wear something similar to me in terms of color?
I beg your pardon, how do I do it?
Well, I don't know. How come you have blue, you know? What I put on colors, really, I think so much about them, and it's shocking when we combine colors together. But otherwise, thank you so much for being with us all the way from Monday till today, Thursday, and of course we'll be ushering in the weekend tomorrow with special. That is, of course, tomorrow is something very, very special that we always have for you. But so much happened, and some stories caught my attention. Some have a bit of humor. Now, I'll begin with Rubanda Law Enforcement Officer Fortune Charikanda, who was jailed for 6 months for failing to pay 14 million shillings owed to her ex-boyfriend after breaching a marriage promise. Quoted earlier in 2023, ordered her to refund 9.4 million shillings he spent on her education. Now, this was a very interesting case in 2023. Why? Because people were shocked when the judge ruled that actually you had promised to get married to this man. So he catered for you, he catered for your education because you had promised him that you would get married to him. Now, after finishing your education, the girl says the man is too old. And she changes her mind. So the man goes to court, and the court ruled that when we estimate about 9.4 million has been spent on your education. Now, since then, she had failed to pay the money. So she was sentenced for 9-month imprisonment over failure to pay that money.
It was quite an interesting story, but given the fact, Robert, I didn't, if I'm the one, I did not forcefully compel this man to sponsor my education. You did it out of love.
Well, lawyers can tell you that a
Where did I sign that?
Marriage, I think.
Was it by audio?
This is what comes out. If I have evidence that I've been paying your tuition at university,
okay,
I have the evidence that I've been paying. You're not my sister. You're not my relative. And I have evidence that we've been having communication of relationships, even indicating that you will marry. We will become a married couple after education. So that contract, it is a contract. And in law, I was speaking to lawyers about this case, and I was shocked. Therefore, young girl, if you're there, I don't promise to get married to Robert. No,
do not intimidate us, Robert, because, you know, you see, even people who have met when they're adults, they do divorce at times. So when it comes to getting married, it's about personal choices. The woman must have got emotionally detached.
Well, speak to some lawyers. Yesterday I had to call about 3 of them to better understand this. And also, relatedly, another interesting case. Now, this one, I just don't understand what is happening with this young man. He's called, let me just get him right here. Yeah,
as you get him, I do have a very big concern. Whoever is in charge of the Natete Busega stretch, I think it is Minister.
Or call 0800 335555.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Uganda. In case you are just joining us, and those of you who have been with us since morning, you're doing a very credible job to make sure you're tuned in to UBC Live. We do come to you live from Naila Avenue, and it is time for the rail. But before we go to that, please go visit our X account, that is at UBC TV Uganda, or Twitter. There is a poll question for you to voice your thoughts or your opinions, or give your perspective on what is your opinion about making it compulsory for both motorcycle riders and their passengers to wear helmets What is your opinion about making it compulsory for both motorcycle riders and their passengers to wear helmets? You can profile your thoughts also on our WhatsApp number, that is 0709 602592, 0709 602592. That is the WhatsApp number. You can send a text message. Do not call or send a voice note, because I will not be able to work out with that. But just notice here, SP Alkawala Recho Police says they have arrested 3 suspects in connection with possession of suspected stolen property. Now, on 11th of March 2026, at about 0200 hours, police received information about a white Toyota Wish motor vehicle suspected to be transporting stolen property. Acting on the tip-off, officers trailed the vehicle up to Nakulabye, where it later parked, and the occupants began offloading slaughtered animals believed to be cows. Now, police officers swiftly moved in and arrested 3 suspects who are currently in custody. The motor vehicle, a white Toyota Wish registration number UBG 345D, was also recovered with 2 slaughtered cows in its boat. The suspects have been identified as Saka Siga Salongo, Guloba Hamza, a butcher, and Bukenya, a butcher, and Bukenya John, the driver of the vehicle. Preliminary findings indicate that the suspects allegedly stole the animals from the Zirowe and Luwero areas. It is further alleged that the stolen meat is sold in kilograms in Nakulabye, with each kilogram going for 10,000 Ugandan shillings. This is a bit absurd, the fact that we decide to resolve to theft instead of trying to make ends meet in the right and due processes. You are causing frustration to these farmers or to the owners of this livestock. So it's not really good, but we do commend the police for having taken such a swift action. Now, back to our topic. Like I said, go on our X account and also engage with us on our WhatsApp number. But the Uganda police force in Kampala are in preparations and did announce plans to enforce a mandatory helmet law for both boda riders and their passengers to improve road safety. But while riding without a helmet is already a recognized traffic offense punishable by a 40,000 Uganda shilling fine, upcoming enforcement operations will specifically target passengers as well, who are now legally required to wear the protective gear. By the way, borders and motorcycles are the most popular means of transport here in Kampala, especially the CBD. And with the 2024 traffic report, it was stated that borders and motorcycles are the leading cause of road accidents and traffic accidents here in Kampala and Uganda. So we are here to discuss about this law and what you think. Should it be affected? If so, who is mostly affected? Does it help us? You can share your sense with us. We are having this conversation together with you. And do not forget that some of the countries, like our neighbors in Rwanda, have been there, and a border rider is supposed to have a helmet on. Plus you, the passenger. Not forgetting, two passengers are not supposed to use one border or one motorcycle, meaning the motorcycle capacity is limited to only 2 people. Robert, share your sense on the plans to enforce this law of helmets to passengers.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, our viewer, you who is watching us this morning, we do appreciate and we don't take you for granted. Now, I am a biker.
Okay.
For the last so many years, and if there's anything I enjoy in this world apart from being in the presence of God, is riding my bikes. I love biking, I love riding. Currently I happen to be the president of Gaba Riders Club, which has about 70 bikers. Now when we talk about head helmet, I understand that very well, because once I was involved in an accident And if I
But
didn't
before
have a
that, you know, for our ordinary viewer who may be in the village and may not know the helmet,
Now,
please
I
describe
want
for
to
them the
quickly give this background now.
Okay.
When I was involved in this accident, the helmet even had cracks. Actually, by the time it was removed, I had that inner part of the helmet on me, but the outer part was all cracked, and the part of even the inner part was cracked. And for us, usually, we don't just buy any helmet. We buy those that have been certified. In our group, you must have a particular helmet that we wear. Not these ones that these border people have. Even when you give him a knock on the head, it can crack. Now, that was evident that had I not had an helmet, maybe I would have developed a permanent head damage. I think my producer or the technical team can have a picture of a helmet, a head helmet for a rider. I think that we can have it on the screen for our people to better understand. Those that don't know, but I want to assume every Ugandan knows a head helmet that a person must wear. So why is police very eager, and why does the World Health Organization, why do all bodies recommend you must have a helmet?
Okay.
People watching us, when you're on a motorcycle, when you break your arm, it can be worked on. People get fractures day in, day out, not so?
Yes, they do.
And they go to orthopedic surgeons, some go to the traditional people, neba kuyunga, and you come back. When it happens to your leg, that can be worked on. But when it goes to your head, if you get cracks on the scar, if you get a brain injury, it is irreversible. Yet there is so much that the brain does on your head. And the bad thing is, most of the times when you're on a motorcycle, when you're landing, if you go in front, it is your head first. If you happen behind, it is your head first. And this is a very important part of your body. It's not like a fracture on any part of your body that you will go to orthopedic surgeons or these traditional people by yungo motwe, but as they would work on your head. So the head is very sensitive. It coordinates a lot of things. Are you aware that once you hit this head and blood and you get a clot in the brain or blood flows, you're gone? Many of them are declared brain dead. And once a person is declared brain dead, it is rare that they will recover. They are gone, they are gone. Now, the brain is very sensitive.
Speaking of that, Robert, when you look at the as of April 2025, Uganda has approximately 22 to 28 trained neurosurgeons. Those are doctors specializing in the brain and spine surgery to serve a population of over 48 million Ugandans.
And I want to tell you, there's a time I needed a brain surgeon.
A neurosurgeon?
A neurosurgeon, thank you so much.
Okay.
And he was called Dr. Chiria Wire. There's a time I was clubbed and hit on the head. So they wanted to do something and just find out if all was okay. But I had continuous headaches. So they said I had to visit. I want to tell you one of the hardest person, that is the helmet we are talking about. Now that is standard.
Okay.
That is a standard rider's helmet or a passenger helmet. That is what you must have on. It covers the jaw, it covers the entire head. Thank you so much, our technical team.
And I can see it also has a transparent screen in front so that debris does not fall in your eyes.
Now, that is what a rider should be. You have your jacket, but now we're concentrating on the helmet. Now, the unfortunate bit is that 98% of our border riders don't wear helmets. According to the Kampala Road Safety Report 2024, 98% don't wear helmets. Yet it is, according to Mulago Hospital and Ministry of Health Research, it shows that 49% of people who are dying of accidents are a result of borders.
The leading cause.
This is the leading cause of death of accidents. And funny enough, the report shows that only 2% of passengers in Uganda wear helmets. Only 2% of passengers in Uganda wear helmets. Most of you, when you sit on these motorcycles, you don't wear helmets. When I'm riding my motorbike, I usually have a spare helmet. But I want to tell you, even my colleagues, my friends, when you tell them to wear a helmet, they'll find it like it's not something they want. When you go to our tours, we are like 100 of us. But you find that the females we are carrying on our motorcycles, out of 100, the men have helmets and gloves. But the girls will complain of their hair.
Interesting.
You find that majority of the girls don't have helmets on.
Yeah, so many comments coming in here. Sometimes I get perplexed with Ugandans. Now one's safety should also be put on strictness. Really? Anyway, we need Uganda with people, not without people. How I wish they also introduced Chiboko to implement it.
Now,
this is,
I think, Joan, first we must let people understand. That's why I began by explaining to them. Because enforcement is good, and I recommend it. But you must bring people to understand why the enforcement.
It shouldn't be brutal.
In our group, usually I have meetings and we bring videos showing our colleagues why they should wear helmets. There are so many good videos on YouTube, and of course we have some connection with our brothers in other countries that send us this information, where they show how one helmet has saved a life. Why in Uganda a border rider will buy that helmet and not put it on? Sense an area where there are police, then he puts it on, then after removes it.
When they've passed by the traffic police?
Yes, I don't want to assume that these people are that very stupid or very dense, that they don't understand, but I feel they lack more sensitization.
Robert, their helmets I've seen, and it's like an empty container. Looks like they pulled out the inside bit of it, and they left only that top, let me call it a can, because it's not really a helmet. But it is just something like how you can get this cup and take out the vacuum and they remain with the outer bit of it. And I'm wondering, so does this also protect lives?
Now, that is why I talked about sensitization. You find a border thinking they're having a helmet that cannot protect them. Because how do you tell me you're buying a helmet at 15,000? You're buying even our government, at some times, standardization is important. When you go to Chiseka, when you go to Ndeva, when you go to some, and you look at these helmets.
When you speak of that, I think we should also look at the prices of these helmets. Maybe it could be some of
quality.
We shall later see why people do not really want to put on helmets. Helmet should be compulsory to any user of the motorcycle. Please indicate your name and maybe why you are watching us from, for betterment of what we can see who is commenting. I'm Sally Francis from Kasanda. That's good for both a rider and passenger in case there is an accident. Good morning. This is a great move to help in limiting accident-related injuries that always happen due to a lack of helmets. Deogracious Echuro from Soroti City. And coming again, good morning, Uganda. This is Odaro Vincent from Morukatipe Toro. Yes, I do support the move. The helmets are very good in protecting both the riders and passengers. In case of an accident, borders, passengers, and the general public should embrace this so as to reduce death associated to motor accidents. And good morning, UBC. This is Charles from Nebi. It is a good idea, but the reason why people don't wear helmets is because it is very expensive, especially for the people in the villages. Not that they don't care about their lives. Such things concerning life protection should be affordable by the local poor people in the village. Thank you. For now, I think let's deal with that.
I would both agree and disagree with him that they're expensive. First, let's begin with what is available. Now, in Uganda, we have the high-end, medium, and low-end helmets. We even have those that come when they are second-hand, you know. And for example, if you do not have enough money, the best helmets to buy are the second-hand helmets, because usually these come from Japan, and they are good. They can guard you, but some of you go for these cheap, relatively new, because a good helmet, if you're to buy it when it's brand new, it will go from 400,000 and above. A quote that will serve purpose. Leave alone these ones you just put on. That will serve purpose. Medium is 250 there.
One helmet?
Yes. Now you go to wastage of time.
No, that is quite expensive.
We're talking about
the ordinary Ugandan.
Top quality. I said these helmets, there are some that people just put on, but they cannot protect you. in case you get a serious crash.
I do concur with you, and I'm on the same
But
page with you.
when you go
how,
for second hand, a quality one but second hand that can do protection. If you saw the helmet that was on our screen, that protects the jaw, has a windshield for you, such helmet, if you go to buy it of top quality, it can't go below.
That is it?
That is it, that one. It can't go below 250,000 of a good quality, leave alone these ones. I don't want to mention our brothers, Chinese, that have duplicated, but if it's from
No,
Japan.
but Chinese also have the good ones. You decide on what grade you want.
They manufacture for everybody.
You
now,
decide on the grade.
Ugandans have given reasons why they don't want to wear these helmets. One, hygiene purposes. That if you put it on, then I put it on for a border. If a border has one. Safe Border had a principle where...
And it still has that principle.
Oh, they still have it?
Yes, Kasule, the head of operations, says, once you are registered with the Safe Border app, they give you 2 helmets, one for the passenger, another one for the border rider. But Ugandans, maybe we can be so reckless. At times you find the border riders do not have these passenger helmets for the passengers.
So the first thing is every border rider should have a helmet for the passenger.
True.
2, if you feel you're not comfortable with this helmet given by the border rider, move with your helmet. There's something I've seen with whites when they come to Uganda. If you've noticed, and they are going to use borders, these people have helmets. You see them move with their helmets, you know, for hygiene purposes. Otherwise, let me tell you, police is not doing this in their favor. Much as when the operation starts, I know they are going to benefit. They benefit the corruption element.
Yes.
But the actual reason is to protect you. There is nothing disturbing as a brain injury in an accident.
Well said there from Robert. You should know that, like I said earlier on, we have over just 22 to 28 neurosurgeons in Uganda. When you equate the ratio, that is one surgeon relatively serving over 1 million people to 3 million people, 2 to 3 million people. So how many border accidents do we have every 3 hours? Are you sure you'll be able to get that neurosurgeon in time to save your life?
Do you even have the money?
Exactly.
Do you have the money?
Exactly. And most of these,
by the way, a brain operation will not cost you less than 28 to 30 million Uganda shillings. Do you have that money?
Imagine. And most of these specialists are based in Kampala, particularly at Mulago National Referral Hospital. So there is a significant gap and shortage. Please, prevention is better than cure. Mind about your life. Once you're gone, you know, at times I do tell these border men, you're taking, the distance you're covering for me is 3,000. But my life, what might come out of an accident, it might even cost me my life or even more than that to get treated. Thank you for sticking with us. I think let me end with Phillips from Karamoja. Helmet is very, very important, for it protects the riders and the passenger from head injuries. Traffic or police officers must maintain the spirit in forcing riders to put on helmets. Also, riders must know and love their lives and put on helmets. Also, those boarding the motorcycle must be on helmets. So many comments coming in.
A tip to border riders.
Okay.
If you are border rider and a passenger doesn't want to put on a helmet, you wear your helmet, ride this person, brake at once.
Or drive the person to police.
No. Brake at once. When you know what happens, they'll hit that head of
on
theirs
the helmet.
On your helmet, and the next thing they'll demand for your helmet.
The last one. Good morning, UBC. I'm James from Mokono Municipality. About the question of wearing the head helmet by a motorcycle rider and passenger. It is pertinent as a life safety measure in case of an accident, but it is not practical in Uganda's case. Reasons being, 1, weak law enforcement by the concerned parties. 2, lack of civic education of the masses by law enforcers. 3,
that I agree.
Carrying more passengers beyond one passenger, which poses a cost. And
legal.
4, Ugandans are stubborn when it comes to adhering to safety and other laws. See the issue of seat belts. People put them on when approaching the traffic police officers, but remove them immediately after checkpoints. Hygiene is also another issue. Well, this conversation goes on our X account, and that is at UBC TV Uganda throughout the day. Coming up is Tourism Express. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
The protocol, but I want to thank you all for coming in such a huge number. Thank you so much for being a part of the launch of Explore Ankole. In a special, I want to recognize the team. We usually call them influencers, but now I see they are pastors and those that have not been here. Thank you for accepting to be a part of this wonderful journey. And I am happy that the team has also gone the other direction. Pastor Bugembe, I didn't know you sang that song actually. As actually, and it's a huge song that speaks to really we the Ugandans and how patriotic we are supposed to be despite our differences. So I want to thank you for coming. I just want to add my voice to the rest of the team. Please come and we explore Ankole. The commissioner took you through and told you the couple of campaigns we have already had over the years, and we've seen some good results. And I want to thank the Ugandans for now getting more involved in traveling domestically. And we believe that this is a segment we are going to continuously focusing on, with of course you, the private sector, and that's why we encourage every other person. Please, whenever you have an opportunity, try to market and speak well about this beautiful destination, Uganda. So I want to thank all the other partners that we are partnering with, from Instant Coffee to the Ankole Marathon, to all of you that have been mentioned here today. Thank you so much for the partnership. And I just want to call upon all the others. I have a problem with the market, with my team here, and I kept insisting. You know, it's important to believe by seeing. And when Gola was speaking on why we should go to Ankole, so many things were said, from the food, the people, the culture, the areas we're going to visit that were spoken about, the Mugaba Palace. And Golola, don't cause us a problem, because we are not restoring the Ankole Kingdom. No. We are just renovating the palace. And there seems to be a bit of misunderstanding, but we believe this is part of the Ankole culture. It's important that you continue visiting it and understand what it was about. So that's one of the mandates of the ministry, And I want to thank the Commission and the team for working tirelessly in restoring this beautiful culture or historical site that speaks to the Ankole culture. So it is yours for the Ankole people. We don't expect to have a king there reading in Ankole, no. But you can go there and understand what the Ankole culture was all about. And all the other sites that were spoken to, the food, the beautiful people, very welcoming. I'm glad you called the Miss Tourism team here so people can see the kind of product in the West. I don't want to use the word Golola used, but I don't disagree with him much. So please, if you want to just come to Ankole, and I think every part of the country is gifted in its own way. So I want to thank you. Let's push domestic tourism continuously as a team. I was telling you, COVID taught us one important thing, that when we have challenges and we are not able to travel as Ugandans, the whole tourism sector collapses. And it is a very, very big sector. I was giving you figures some time back. I was actually with the Ministry of Finance and they were correcting me. We'll get proper figures at the end of the financial year. But they had declared, I had picked from somewhere that as of the year 2025, tourism had brought in $1.7 billion. But PSST was telling me I need to give you proper figures because as we speak now, you're at actually 1.8 billion US dollars. So you can imagine how much revenue that is. And of course, almost now 1.7 million foreigners coming into the country. But you can imagine if we have a challenge and there's no more travel, we lose all that money, all these hotels, all these other things collapse. But when we have you, the Ugandans, traveling, definitely then we can be able to maintain the sector afloat. So I see also our domestic tourism numbers growing. I think as of the year 2024, we had around 3.2 million Ugandans traveling domestically. Of course, half the number goes to visit relatives, half, almost 55%. It is only the other remaining number that goes to our sites that travels for MICE, leisure and hospitality. And of course, we are trying to grow this number aggressively because this other half that travels mainly for tourism is the one that spends more. It spends actually almost twice than what these others spend. And our figures show us that out of these 3.2 million people that traveled in 2024, through them, there was an expenditure of around 5.4 trillion Uganda shillings. And that is a huge amount of money. Of course, most of this money goes to transportation, the biggest chunk, around 56% of it. The second goes to food, beverages, and all that, which is around 19%, and only 15% of that revenue goes to accommodation. And that's why it's important that we focus on this campaign so that we can turn around the figure for those that actually travel for leisure and tourism, so that they can be able to spend nights, because those that don't spend nights, on average, spend around maybe 45,000 Uganda shillings. But the Ugandans who spend a night almost spend between 95,000 to 100,000 Uganda shillings. So you can see how important the tourism sector is to employment, because when they sleep in the hotels, the people employed there are Ugandans. When they are buying these foods and beverages, these are products produced by the very Ugandans. The people running these, who are in the transport sector, are with the Ugandans. So this is a sector that transforms our communities from top to bottom. And I still want to encourage more Ugandans. Please travel this beautiful country. This one I say time and again. I have had a number of Ugandans agreeing. Some people are traveling. I was abroad recently. It is freezing cold. You're in a jacket. You're shivering. Your ears almost, eardrums almost exploding. But in this country, any time of the year, you're moving freely. Of course, it's important to explore other parts of the country, of the world, but you take time off and enjoy this beautiful country. I've already said, travel is very cheap. The roads are there. The people are hospitable. The food is 100% organic. Pastor, if you travel abroad, for me when I travel, and there is hardly access to this organic food, and let's say you've traveled for a week, if you're going to survive on those burgers, and I'm not decampaigning the food market here, the Gen Zs who are enjoying that, but trust me, you may not, let me not go that direction. But we have the best healthy food in this country. So take some time off, take your families, and travel is not only for the crazy people, because I think that's the assumption, that when people travel, it is about, it is okay because we also have a young population. You should have your fun, get out of the office life, but also people travel quietly. They travel with their families, just enjoy what Uganda is about. And I like the blend, and the parents should know that so many of these kids travel safe. It is really a choice. Those that want to go and enjoy because Uganda has the best, craziest nightlife, I think, in the world. But it's a choice. People can travel and just go and visit most of these sites that we have. So I still want to welcome all of you to Ankole. Like they've said, there is transport will be provided for, but it doesn't stop you. I know the team cannot transport everyone, but it does not stop you from putting some fuel in your car and coming to Mbara. And I know it is not very expensive. I am saying this authoritatively. If you get a small van and you're 5 people, 6, and you put some small fuel, in Mbara, what's the cheapest fare accommodation we can get in Mbara per price? 30,000, self-contained room. So you can imagine, 30,000 to a bad negotiator, but if you're a good one, you could go to 20 even. I'm telling you, and if you want, you can sleep slightly, maybe on the outskirts, or you can even share. There is Airbnb. So Ugandans who keep saying that travel is expensive do not know the truth, or they are ignorant of the information. At 15,000, you can sleep in Mbarara or any part of this country, even in Kampala here. Securely, you're not worried of anything, and wake up and do your business. So please, travel is as cheap as it can get. And we've told you, maybe along the journey, we don't stop you from taking a detour. You can go and visit the other areas, Lake Mburo. You can continue to Queen Elizabeth. You can continue your journey and maybe to all these other areas. Still, park entry fees are very cheap, 20,000 Uganda shillings. So I want to encourage you Ugandans. And please, the moment you travel, if you travel and you're not, I don't know any person, is there any person who travels without taking pictures? Is there anyone? Is there anyone who travels without taking pictures? Eh? Are there some people who travel and don't take pictures? They are there. There are people who travel. You get some money, you put in your pocket to travel, and you don't take any picture. You don't capture any memory of your travel. You're a very bad traveler. Because I know 99% take more pictures when they travel than the average day. Please, when you take those pictures, get them out of your galleries and post them so that people can see how beautiful this country is. So thank you so much for coming. I want to thank the team, the Department of the Tourism Development Department, the whole ministry team, the service providers, our hosts in Mbara, the different areas we are going to visit, you the participants.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome back from Tourism Express that is proudly brought to you by the Uganda Tourism Board. It is now time for our economic press, and please do not forget to look at the money right now with our business headlines, starting off with information from the manufacturers sector, as the State Minister of Trade, David Bahati, reiterated government's commitment to supporting local manufacturers through reliable electricity and wider markets. Now, he made the remarks during the third pre-budget breakfast dialogue for the financial year 2026-2027, organized by the Uganda Manufacturers Association under the theme, Harnessing NDP4 to Combat Informality, Eliminate Illicit Trade and Drive Tenfold Growth. Let's have a look at these thorough remarks.
Speaking at the dialogue, David Bahati explained that government is investing about $192 million electricity substations in industrial parks across the country so that industries can access cheaper power in the coming years.
We still are committed to ensuring that all manufacturers get at least 0.5 cents within the medium term.
As of the first quarter of 2025, electricity tariffs for manufacturers in Uganda have been reduced. For 2025, the rates are approximately 355.1 shillings per kilowatt hour for medium industries, 300.4 shillings per kilowatt hour for large industries, and 203.6 per kilowatt hour for extra large industrial consumers.
We are investing around $192 million to develop and support the substations in all industrial parks in Uganda. So power is an issue that we're addressing, and I hope that the Minister of Energy will also be in so that if there are any questions, you ask.
The dialogue also spotlighted other statutory and infrastructural difficulties that keep business costs high for manufacturers and made recommendations to governments as it finalizes with appropriations for the national budget financial year 2026-27 to leverage both national and international trade.
To the second schedule of the VAT Act, and particularly Item 5, which dealt with memorandums and contracts, memorandums of agreements and contracts, which were attracting stamp duty of 15,000 Ugandan shillings per transaction. However, there are other items in that schedule, and particularly Instrument 52, which actually levies 15,000 shillings on every receipt of money or property above 50,000. If this is implemented in the state that it is in, it could lead to at a cost. Imagine you only have 50 transactions of sales, e-receipts. This could translate to about 750,000 Ugandan shillings per day.
Haj Sekalala, the chairman of the Uganda Manufacturers Association, also raised an alarming concern, explaining that illegal products in sectors such as alcohol, pharmaceuticals and cement are affecting profit margins of legitimate businesses and affecting consumers' lives negatively.
Alcohol, nearly 60% of the alcohol sold on the market is illicit. 30% of the pharmaceuticals are illicit. 30% is 1 in 3. So 1 in 3 tablets, if 1 in 3 medicines sold on the market are illicit, this is a big cause for concern, but it is also a big drain on the economy.
As Uganda targets a $500 billion GDP economy, manufacturing is among the government's high priority sectors in NDP4 to drive the country to upper middle income status. It is therefore imperative that the sector operates in a favorable business environment to support the much desired growth. Wadulo Arnold Mark for UBC.
Thank you, our reporter there, Wadulo Arnold Mark. Now, in regards to the regional cooperation updates, addressing trade barriers between Uganda and Tanzania is the main focus of the 5th Tanzania-Uganda Joint Permanent Commission that is taking place in Dar es Salaam, that is Tanzania. The meeting, attended by players from the public and private sectors, as well as development partners. This comes at a time when trade ties between the two countries are expanding, driven by cross-border projects such as the East African crude oil pipeline and other capital-intensive infrastructure initiatives. Let's take a look.
From Tanzania to Uganda.
The fifth session of the Tanzania-Uganda Joint Permanent Commission has commenced in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. The JPC is a framework for bilateral cooperation through which countries hold structured discussions to address regulatory concerns and expand trade and investment opportunities. However, in the case of Uganda and Tanzania, several non-tariff barriers continue to hinder business operations. Uganda's High Commissioner to Tanzania, Ambassador Fred Mosige, says the issue remains a major concern.
Uganda allows race from Tanzania to Uganda without any limitation, okay? Without any tax. But Tanzania does not allow our sugar, for example. They put their quotas. They don't allow our milk. They put their multiple taxes. So those are just one example. Recently, they imposed a tax on our industrial goods, industrial products like roofing materials, steel, cement, tires. They slapped the tax to 15, and when we raised the alarm, they removed it 5%, which is not allowed, which is against the EAC protocol.
His sentiments are echoed by Ambassador Richard Cabonero, the head of regional cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Our Excellencies met on February 7th here in Dar es Salaam. And all the issues that were raised, they directed us to sort them out in this JPC. So they are going to meet later this year. Ambassador, my brother, what shall we tell them?
Their Tanzanian counterpart, Ambassador Ali Sakila, notes that diplomacy must be given a chance, adding that no challenge between the two sister countries is insurmountable.
We will also focus on practical measures to address trade barriers that continue to affect the smooth flow of goods and services between our two countries. Equally important is improving connectivity and connectedness through strategic infrastructure, including SGR, pipeline, roads, ports, and digital connectivity.
The Tanzania-Uganda Joint Permanent Commission had not been convened for 4 years, leading to setbacks in the implementation of several bilateral agreements and memorandum of understanding. There are high expectations that the high-level meeting will produce tangible outcomes.
We are going to see how we can be able to promote trade through the Central Corridor, especially using railways. I have been able to visit the port of Dar es Salaam. They have put up a lot of infrastructure development at the port. They have also putting up infrastructure in terms of hinterland connection. So we are in discussions to make sure that we are able to improve on the regional trade so that we can be able to have more goods passing through the port of Dar es Salaam, through Mwanza, Port Bell, up to Kampala.
Implementation of signed MOUs remains a major bottleneck between the two countries, with some Ugandan officials accusing Tanzania of protectionist tendencies. While the agenda of the 3-day 5th Joint Permanent Commission between Uganda and Tanzania is wide-ranging, but ultimately what will matter most is the implementation of the agreed joint action matrix, turning commitment into concrete action and truly walking the talk. Dennis Igoa for UBC in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Very profound. Looking at the stock market updates, the bearing ceremony at the Nairobi Securities Exchange marked a historic milestone as Kenya Pipeline Company, which officially commenced trading on the exchange following a successful initial public offering. And the ceremony was officiated by the President of Kenya, William Ruto, and attended by top officials from Uganda's Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development and UNOC. Let's have a look at this groundbreaking ceremony.
And today has been the remarkable event of the bell ringing, which marks the trading initiation on the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
The event in Nairobi, graced by His Excellency William Ruto, the President of Kenya, signaled the start of public trading of Kenya Pipeline Company shares.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Kenya Pipeline Company IPO is the first privatization listing in nearly 2 decades at this bourse. The previous one being Safaricom, which was listed in June 2008. But there is a deeper significance to today's listing.
It has been announced that the government of Uganda had acquired a 20.15% shareholding in KPC, highlighting Uganda's commitment to strengthen regional energy security and strategic infrastructure partnerships.
So we look forward to participating as shareholders in KPC. We are going to look at their strategy. We are going to be part of the conversation in the boardroom and be part of the decision-making process. So it's exciting times, and I want to congratulate everyone who has been part of this achievement.
The KPC initial public offering raised more than 106 billion Kenyan shillings.
Unlike previous privatization proceeds that were absorbed into the general government budget, the proceeds of this IPO, as well as future privatization, will provide capital to the National Infrastructure Fund, which I signed into law yesterday on Monday, February 9th, 2026.
Currently, Uganda imports about 95% of petroleum products through Kenya, amounting to 2.96 billion liters per annum. Dennis Igoa for UBC.
Let's look at what is happening in agribusiness there, as farmers in Oyam district have received a boost ahead of the new planting season following the launch of a seed distribution campaign aimed at improving agricultural production and household incomes. Now, the initiative, led by community development advocate Jane Francis Achilo, will see more than 20,000 tons of seedlings distributed to farmers across the district. Let's take a look at the report.
As the planting season begins, farmers in Oyam district are receiving seedlings expected to strengthen agricultural productivity and improve livelihoods. The campaign, spearheaded by farmer and community development advocate Jane Francis Asilo, targets thousands of households across the country, with over 20,000 tons of seedling being distributed to support farming communities.
These seeds are not for selling, they are for planting. They are for food today and for seed tomorrow. We expect you to plant on time and manage the gardens well, weed properly and use organic manure where possible, and protect the gardens from animals and careless fires.
Oyam district, located in northern Uganda, is largely dependent on agriculture, with most households relying on small-scale farming for both food and income. Crops such as maize, cassava, beans and groundnuts are widely grown in the area, making agriculture the backbone of the local economy.
And can help the people to feed their families as well as earn an income.
It can be replanted. So what we're giving people is 1 kilogram of seeds, which after this first season they can then replant. And this is really to help with their livelihoods. As a foundation, they are so much interested in the growth of the people.
Community members say access to quality planting materials remains one of the key challenges farmers face at the start of every season, often affecting crop yields and overall productivity. The seed distribution campaign is aimed at supporting farmers with improved planting materials while encouraging sustainable agriculture and household income growth. Local leaders and farmers believe the initiative will strengthen food security and promote economic development within the district as more families engage in productive farming, with agriculture continuing to sustain livelihoods in Oyam district. Initiatives that provide farmers with improved seedlings are expected to play a significant role in boosting production and transforming rural communities. For ABC News, I am Sudat Kaye.
Let's now look at our money and the Forex rates as they stand, or they stood on 11th March 2026. And from the look of things, the US dollar is declining in strength compared to what is traded on the 10th of March 2026. And from Bank of Uganda, the buying rate is 3,669.77 and selling at 3,709.77. By midday, the buying rate for the dollar was 3,686.09 and sold at 3,696.09. And at closure of business, the dollar bought at 3,711.59 and sold at 3,721.59, which showed that by the close of business, the dollar was beginning to appreciate in the currency units. Let's look at the Great British Pound. It is selling at 4,978.35, buying at 4,978.35 and selling at 4,992.88, whereas the euro is buying at 4,299.87 and selling at 4,211.83. The Kenyan shilling, our neighbors there, is buying at 28.69 and selling at 28.81. That has appreciated a bit. And the Tanzanian shilling is buying at 1.41 and selling at 1.43. And finally, the South African rand, that is buying at 226.25 and selling at 226.95. Please do not forget that these rates keep on changing all the time, but we shall bring them as we get them from the central bank. Coming up is the agenda. We are going to be discussing the role of women in the medical field. My name is Joan. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now.